Hello, I'm Jo. I've been at Salford University for 3 years and my background is in graphic design. I've had my own business for many years and I've taught on and off for that length of time as well, so I've got lots of links with industry too. This is Tash.
Hello, I'm Tash Willcocks. My background is in graphic design. I've taught here for about 15 years, part of it part-time and then went on to full-time. My background's kind of mainly in the music industry, doing things like the Elbow album artwork and sort of the singles are from there, the early stuff, and more recently I've been getting into motion and sort of videos, and I've done work with Mika and sort of smaller bands and sort of been in the indie charts and things.
It's really what you might term as traditional graphic design embedded with digital design.
We deal mainly with print artwork, but because of the changing sort of environment of design in general, we take on to the account that you need to be sort of on a multimedia format. So it might go from print, DPSs, sort of like posters, then it might have a deliverable such as an app or sort of an iPhone app, or go on to tablets in some way.
So we call it sort of integrated campaigns, and what we're looking for is students that particularly want to work with strong ideas, concepts, and take that through into well-executed pieces of work. So basically a lot of the work that we start doing is competition briefs and live briefs from the second year, and that moves on into a sort of more extended, developed way into the third year.
In the third year we do allow them to do the competitions and sort of a lot of the mentor, but the bias is more on sort of live briefs, getting out into industry, making them interact with industry more so that they get that foot in the door so that they can progress on. What we found is the backgrounds are slightly changing with sort of education changing. We used to take mainly foundation students on, but we're now finding that students coming from sixth form are doing really, really well. Foundation is always a fantastic way to come through. And ND and HND,
yes.
It's, in all honesty, we find out at interview whether you're the student for us. It's sort of, again, if you come in, you're enthusiastic, you've got a fantastic portfolio, we're
got good ideas, got good sketchbooks, and you've got the aptitude to be able to think broadly around the subject. That's the kind of student we want. And creativity, obviously. We don't necessarily need computer skills, we can teach you those.
It's ideas.
It's ideas. We work quite heavily on the Roses International Creativity Awards, which are a fairly northern set of design awards, and our students do those in the second year and some of them do them in the third year, and they're really creative projects like make sprouts cool or sell ice to the Eskimos. They also have some very realistic projects as well, which are sprinkled in that lot. They're set by industry, and you might also get something like reduce knife crime, which is one of those very, very difficult, challenging briefs which we like students to have a go at doing as well.
Coming into the third year, again, it's those sort of industry briefs. This year, so far we've worked with Magma Wood, which is the clothing company, Kid British, which is a band, Giant, which is a record company, and several more.
We also have really interesting people that we try to get in to come and work with students in addition to us, so we employ quite a few part-timers. But for example, we've got Brian Cannon coming in January to do a 2-week workshop, who is instrumental in terms of creating and art directing Oasis albums and Super Furry Animals. So we get quite a lot of people that have got a good record behind them, and again that's very encouraging for students because they have a really, really interesting, diverse set of people to work with that all bring strengths to the course. Designers Northern Alliance we set up a couple of years ago, and again it's in addition to what the students can experience in the course, we work with industry, so it's sort of a three-pronged association. It's students, educators and industry, and within those, under the umbrella of DNA, we set up events which students lead. They run and organise and contact industry, and we have a range of events that students and industry are invited to, and basically they network. So it gives them the opportunity to meet with people from industry, and hopefully, not even hopefully, the possibility of getting a work placement is considerably increased.
Industry links are easier to explain sort of as a mass rather than sort of individually. We work with so many sort of like from small sort of companies that are ex-graduates that have got back in contact, have moved back up from London or sort of other areas and set up on their own. they've been fantastic. Sort of they get industry links, they come in, they do talks, they sort of give back to the course. Also up to the bigger companies that sort of like nationwide, they work with us as well. On DNA, you actually see it come into practice a little bit more because they come in and do portfolio surgeries.
There may be 30 companies that we get in, people that are just either ex-graduates that are prepared to work with us because they know how important it is to give that middle ground between the student and industry. So there are literally so many companies from the Northwest that are prepared to come and do talks or come and work with us, and most of our students end up getting employment within those kind of Northwest companies.
Basically, there's several avenues that they go into. A lot are going into internships, but what we're finding is the more experience you get in the second year and third year, the shorter time that you'll actually have to go into sort of internships or sort of like placements. I run something called Placementville that we all add into. So we're permanently putting up placements, sort of like saying, do you want to be on here? What I found from that is industry are actually going on there, and they've all been contacting me to sort of go, we want to do more. We've got a lot running month to month, and sort of with the idea that they do month to month, and then one of them actually gets taken on afterwards. What we're finding more and more is, because it's a tough climate, a lot of them are going out and setting up their own sort of little businesses. They're working freelance. That's actually working quite nicely, and they're setting up little networks, so if they can't do the work, they're passing it on to somebody else. Collectives are working really well, sort of illustration and the sort of like communication pathway. Once they start gelling, you realise that they sort of go out and sort of set up their own little pods. I think the quote, love what you do, do what you love, sums it up. That's from our point of view and from the students' point of view. If you're not in it because you don't love it,
you should get out.
Or start loving it.
I also think the fact that we are very, very aware of what we need to do to help students get into industry by staying relevant, by engaging with industry all the time. We know exactly what students need to do to get into industry, so that's really important in this current climate. So because we kind of network all the time, we know exactly how we should tweak the course every so often just to make sure it's valid and students have got the right kind of learning and understanding to get into industry.
It's the industry focus that we have, but it's still that experimentation, because the industry want them to have as much experimentation, fun. Like I said, start loving what you do, because if you love what you do it all the time and it sort of becomes your life. They want students that are like that they're sort of, it's embedded in them. So the more we can do that, the better.